Test, test. 1, 2. Test.
Yes, 1, 2, we're live. We're live with the Bulk Truth. Royce, welcome to the stage, your show.
Thanks, Steve. I got one question for you. Where did you come up with this theme music?
So I found it, but what I like about it, it starts with check the mic and make sure it sounds good, boys.
I've been meaning to ask. Every time I hear that, I'm like, it's pretty interesting. Yep. Signature.
Got a little attitude about it. Gives a little personality. Because we're talking about some cool stuff, and it needs to be a little entertaining, right? We're not all business. You know, today what we're going to talk about is our current folks are using Veracity and Diamond. You've collected some insights recently, and it's kind of changed the way people are adopting and integrating stuff. Why did you want to talk about this today?
So since we launched the new Veracity Diamond series at the Jeeps Exchange, I think that was like the third week of February. So since that time, the adoption rate has been very aggressive relative to our prior experiences, and the fit is one of the big drivers. I mean, today people are able to find something that can fit in the confined spaces that are allowed in existing facilities. So it's moved the needle rapidly. People have acknowledged it's something that they want, something that they need. The challenge they had before is finding the time and the space to put it in. And so what we're experiencing currently is a fast adoption rate for various applications.
So, so you got these big, loud, noisy, dirty, messy, cold, hot spaces, right? And then you show up with their older versions of I guess your original models, and it's like, well, we need to build a space to accommodate that, and we need to connect it to this, to the leg bone, and then that to the hip bone, and now you guys have evolved to where that's not even a part of the conversation.
Yeah, now the conversation is really what is the right fit, what's the right application, what's the right volume, what's the right size. So our legacy products, where there's a fit, and I mean, they're still great products. We've done some installs here recently for truck loading and automating truck loading. Feedback has been very positive. Just the last few weeks out, had 2 sensors loading corn and soybeans where they're automating the process using RFID tags. That project's moving along very well. Great feedback as far as accuracy. This last week in Kansas, I had an opportunity to go by a facility that's utilizing one of our integral sensors. They integrated it for rail loading. I wish I would have been recording the testimonial, because their comment was they're accurately measuring and loading the cars, but more importantly, they cut their loading time. I think they were averaging about 45 minutes, and they cut that down to 30 minutes. And so not only are they more accurate, they're more efficient in the loading, and had an opportunity to go look at some additional sites for them as a result of that. So I guess rail, truck, about to deliver a unit. We've always been very interested in container loading. Seems to be a large business where they're loading containers and putting them on ships and sending them overseas. And so got a new application with the Veracity Diamond, because it is such a tight fit. They can actually measure it coming off out of the bin onto a conveyor, and then feeding into the containers that they're loading. And the goal is to hit those accurately one time. Feedback this last week from a site that has had sensors for a while, but we put in new sensors a year ago. They just ran through their entire season, and he reported I think they had 2 overloads for the whole season. So he was very pleased with how that was performing.
Wow. You know, you were talking about those containers, and it jogged my memory back in the day when I was a kid in high school. I was doing these little odd jobs, you know, to make a little extra money. And the wrestling coach, he got this, I guess, a contract or whatever, but we go out to the railroad cars, and it was called coopering. And we put this temporary, you know how the side door opens on that rail car, and we put a temporary tough paper, I guess, siding, so that they could put that corn thing in that car, unloaded up to a point where it came up to that. We'd have to go retrofit all of those rail cars, and it's called coopering. And so you're talking about, that was a lot of work to get out there. A couple high school kids doing that stuff. Anyway, now you're able to speed that up with on a container. I was just picturing that container is probably loaded there on a rail car, and then it just gets grabbed and placed on a ship.
Yeah, so a lot of these containers are just like they go on a truck. So they're loading that, and then they pull it around with a semi, but ultimately they'll be lifted and put onto a ship and sent overseas. Yeah, I mean that's interesting background. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, I just remember I was out there and it was hot and by myself one day, and you made me have that memory. And I was going, oh, that's what we were doing, a version of what Royce was doing, but back in the day.
So those are the loadouts. So in processing, we had some recent applications. Josh was on site this last week commissioning a new unit, and it was pretty interesting. The gentleman had bought or he actually did a subscription, but he wanted the technology so his operators could see and focus on the quality of the job that they're doing, not only the quantity. So normal that they could see their end of the day, end of the shift, end of the quarter numbers as far as what did we produce. But what was missing is seeing, what was the quality of achieving that result. And it was a little bit challenging. Josh is really good and had a chance to work with the team on site. But as they went and installed the sensor, and then they got everything running, they were working on calibration, and it was challenging. And I guess the manager understood. I mean, he already knew that the challenge. We just created transparency of what the problem was. And so I can't remember. It's like they were starting and stopping 60 times. And so the conveyor was always starting and stopping. And every time it stopped, it would pile up on the belt. And then it starts again. So there's just this surging, very variable as far as what the flows were. And in very short order, as they did a calibration, they were to level that out. And so, you created transparency as far as what's really occurring in real time. And because now they could see it, then they knew what to do to fix it. But before it was invisible. I mean, it's in the conveyor, and I mean, nobody could physically see that. And I guess they couldn't even hear it. So I think that was a great example of how we're seeing the technology revolutionize, traditional methods in processing. And that was our vision for what we might be able to achieve. And from there, then start being able to calculate, the yields as far as what it's doing and how they potentially can start improving those. I'm trying to think. There was another application on inventory. I mean, just what's being transferred into the plant. And so, and last week received some more calls where people are interested in how they could utilize the technology to know how much material is going into a bin, coming out of a bin, but know where they are on inventories for the season, and needing visibility in a way that they haven't had it in the past.
And knowing that in real time instead of end of month or end of year.
Yes. Yeah, an ongoing calculation is. I mean, every site's a little bit different, but I've been amazed just driving through Kansas. I mean, you can almost stop in every town because there's somebody that's looking for something similar to this in various applications and various materials.
Start and stopping 60 times a day. I imagine that's extreme wear and tear on that equipment.
Well, and I'm not so sure that wasn't an hour.
Oh my gosh!
It's. I mean, you just think about it. It piles up and dumps, and it's just, just again having the tools, and that's what he mentioned. His goal was to equip his operators with the right tools to where they were make sure they're enabled for success in what he was trying to get to. So, but great application, great first steps for calibrating and starting that visibility. And we always measure success based off of, as we wrap up a project or a commissioning, when somebody's asking about, okay, I've got this other application now that I'm interested in doing. So they start sending photos and dimensions. We're seeing more of that where people have very small confined spaces, very small pipes, very low flow rates, but very important parts of their process that they've had no visibility, and they make a lot of guesstimates as far as what's occurring. Now they're looking at dialing those in as well.
So they often buy for one reason, but you're finding out other interesting reasons that they're excited about, they didn't expect or didn't know they would get to achieve. What are some other examples?
So we're starting, I mean, industry wise, we're getting more play in ethanol. And so a lot of things happening in that part of the industry today. So whether it be measuring corn rates going into the mill for grinding, or measuring flour rates that are coming out, I mean, we're seeing more interest as far as measuring flow rates of dry materials to add some type of additive to that material based on the flow rate. So it's real time flow, and they can adjust whether putting on a liquid or molasses or enzymes. I mean, whatever that might be, there's lots of different types of additives that are added. Before, the norm was that they're using a rotary. I mean, how many revolutions did it have? Is it load on the motor? I mean, there's ways that they were guesstimating, but I mean, in many cases, they'd be 10, 20% off using those type methods. On the rotary, I mean, the assumption was it's always full. So, when it's empty and just sitting there, it's still turning. It's still, you think you're still doing a great job, but there's no flow. And so a few other examples. And then we're moving beyond just various type grains, flour, starting to look at some other materials like clay. And so we continue to envision, if it's dry and it'll flow, we can measure it.
So the integral, veracity, and diamond. Integral is integrated into some sort of equipment.
So integrals for incline. So our branding, integral stood for, so if it's an incline chute or pipe, that's where we are integrating that model specifically. We've got flow rates all the way from, say, 50 pounds up to 50,000 pounds a minute. So that's on the incline. For anything that's in a vertical, that's our Veracity series. And so our traditional models are the Veracity rounds. And so we can measure up to 5,000 pounds a minute. So anywhere from 20 pounds all the way up to 5,000 pounds a minute. And now with the Veracity Diamond series, that's in a square, but it's the low profile. So in 12 inches or less, we're measuring all the way up to 20,000 pounds a minute. And we've got pretty much every size. So whether it's an 18-inch flange, 16, 14, 12, 10, all the way down to 6. We have sizes that fit for all those different applications. And then we'll be looking at scaling up above our 18-inch inlet and the 20,000 pound flow rate for weights as high as 50,000 and possibly even 100,000.
Wow. And then you have several ways to, I guess, engage the subscription, outright purchase. To talk about those as well.
Sure. So that's probably the other piece that's helped accelerate the adoption is we offer the subscription. So the Cadaro Complete is an annual subscription. We own everything. They're just paying annually to use it. And so we've had a few people that's a good fit for. Others are wanting to get into the technology, still a little bit uncertain as far as, is it going to meet my needs? Is it going to deliver like you promise? And so we've offered the opportunity that you can start with a subscription. And then by the middle part of December of the calendar year, if you want to own it, you can apply that initial subscription amount towards the purchase. Gives them a chance to experience it in their own plant, build their own numbers, see what the return on investment is, build their own CapEx case. And in the case of this last week, I mean, when you show up and they're talking about loading rail cars and the CEO standing right there, and I mean, he's singing praises as well. To me, that's what we're trying to do. And that was a subscription unit as well. And so that subscription really helped moving the needle to accelerate getting these in and allowing people to get an experience before they really do broad applications.
Is there any other engagement?
Those are the main one. We have a hybrid, so we have one that they can buy the sensor and subscribe to software and support on an annual basis for a modest amount. So that's really our three versions: full subscription, buy with a subscription, or outright purchase with a perpetual use license.
All right, cool. Well, Since we've been doing this, it feels like the momentum has really picked up with Kadar. Not because of necessarily, I'm not saying it because we're having these conversations, but I've just noticed that a lot of momentum has become apparent, and that's pretty cool.
Well, it seems like we're having success. So the product's delivering, and then that's bringing additional opportunities within those customers, and we're getting more referrals even from other companies that they have customers that are looking for a solution. And because of our participation in events like Jeeps, they've been kind enough to recommend that people reach out to us, and we've had a chance to close some of those sales.
Awesome. So someone's listening. You've sparked something in them. They want to talk about what Kadar looks like in their future. What's the best way to connect with you?
So our website, Kadaro.com, is a good place to start. There's a link in there that you can sign up to have a meeting, schedule a site review. Do a lot of those virtually or in person, either one, or they can call us direct. I had several people last week because of some of our advertising and some of the things that we've done on some email campaigns. They just picked up the phone and called. So either one of those works well.
All right. You can also find Royce on LinkedIn. We got this fancy technology, this QR code with the green C right in the middle of it. Scan that. That'll take you to the right place as well. Or just email info@kadaro.com to learn more about how you can optimize your operations, save on your equipment, show your clients the quality of the work you're doing. What else? Did I forget anything, Royce?
No, I think it's good. You got the music queued up at the end, so it must be a wrap.
All right. Well, good job today. Look forward to talking again next week about the bulk truth. You can't manage what you don't measure, right?
That's right.
So we help you measure so you can manage. Kadaro. And that's a wrap. Thanks, Royce.
Thanks.